As a foot soldier, you could be called upon to participate in heliborne operations. In order to ensure the effectiveness of operations and the safety of all personnel concerned, it is essential that each soldier understand the procedures to follow, as well as what has to be done during each phase of the operation. This series of videos is designed to help you better understand and put into practice the safety principles that apply to flights by helicopter. By following these principles, you will be able to accomplish your mission effectively, quickly, and most importantly, safely. During this second module, we will examine the role of the section commander in a heliborne operation. The section commander's tasks include choosing and preparing the landing zone, directing the boarding and deplaning of troops, as well as overseeing the loading and unloading of equipment. We will also examine the tasks to be accomplished by the 2IC and by the person designated as the helicopter landing marshal. After having selected a landing zone, the section commander places his troops nearby in the all-round defensive position. The group forms a security perimeter around the landing zone. He gives orders to the 2IC with regards to preparations for boarding. He designates a person who will accompany him to the landing zone. This person will be in charge of guiding the helicopter during the landing. The section commander then leaves the security perimeter and makes his way to the landing zone. At the same time, the 2IC reviews the individual preparations, making sure that each soldier knows the boarding order and the seat that's been assigned to him. There are several ways of preparing for the landing, depending on the nature of the operation, whether it is a tactical mission or an administrative one, and whether the landing will take place during the day or at night. Generally, in order to land, a helicopter needs a flat circular surface with a diameter of at least 30 meters. This graphic illustrates the minimum area required for a helicopter to be able to land. All debris or objects found on the ground must be removed from this area, including branches, shrubs, large rocks, pieces of equipment, or cables. Also, there must not be anything suspended over this surface. The interior circle of 6 meters is the area where the helicopter will actually land. This surface must be firm and compact so that the helicopter won't sink into it, and also so that it won't stir up an excessive amount of dust. Dust obscures the pilot's vision and can cause mechanical problems, so take this into consideration when selecting a landing zone. The second circle, the peripheral zone, measures 14 meters across, the same length as the helicopter's main rotor. Finally, the 30-meter area inside the third circle provides an added safety buffer equal to 1/2 a rotor length all around. The approach and takeoff paths cannot have any large trees, telephone or electric lines, or any other elevated structure in their way. The maximum angle of approach is 6 degrees, or a ratio of 1 to 10, which means, for example, that a tree 10 meters high must be 100 meters away from the landing point. Here is a simple method of calculating the clearance needed for landing. From the designated landing point, send someone who is 6 feet tall to a distance of 50 paces. From ground level at the landing point, you should not be able to see any obstacles above the person's head. A helicopter cannot land on a steep slope, so choose a site that is as flat as possible. Usually, helicopters land facing or into the wind, so the person assigned to guide the helicopter must have the wind at his back. Other factors can also influence the selection and preparation of a landing zone. For example, at night, Landing requires more space than during the day. At higher altitudes, in the mountains for example, the size of the landing zone will need to be increased. Also, most helicopters will have difficulty maintaining hover flight when they are fully loaded. So in these circumstances, a larger landing surface and clear approach paths must be provided. On a daytime administrative mission, the landing zone may be marked in different ways, with flashing lights, with fluorescent panels or tapes, or with a fluorescent vest worn by the landing marshal. It is possible, but only at the pilot's request, to use smoke grenades to make it easier for the pilot to locate the landing zone. Other methods can also be used, for example, radio communications and the FM locator signal. Generally, during daytime tactical operations, marking of the landing zone is reduced to a minimum. The helicopter is usually guided by arm and hand signals. The landing marshal should stand in front of the exact spot where the helicopter should land. To indicate the landing direction and to identify himself to the pilot, the landing marshal raises his weapon above his head in a horizontal position. If the situation is too dangerous for the helicopter to land, the landing marshal should signal the pilot to leave. To do this, the landing marshal stretches his arms out to the side at shoulder height and then raises them until they cross above his head. For nighttime administrative missions, unless advised that the helicopter has night vision capability, the landing zone should be marked with lights. The same principles apply to the selection and preparation of the landing zone. However, you must pay particular attention to removing obstacles and to choosing an approach path free of obstructions. Here are the two principal methods used to mark the landing zone. T-shaped, using 5 lights. The helicopter must be able to land on either side of the end of the stem of the T. And inverted Y-shaped, using 4 lights. If this configuration is used, the helicopter will land between the ends of the 2 branches of the inverted Y. The lights should be placed so as to provide for the longest approach path possible. Use a red light to signal the helicopter's crew that cargo is to be picked up. A green light is used to signal that cargo is to be unloaded. If the T-shaped marking is used, the red or green lights are placed 50 paces behind the stem of the T and 5 paces to the side. If the inverted Y-shaped marking is used, the red or green lights are placed 50 paces beyond the branches of the Y. The landing zone can also be marked using the headlights of 2 vehicles. The vehicles should be positioned 35 paces from each other and in such a way that the beams of their headlights cross one another 35 paces in front. For nighttime landing during tactical missions, pilots are equipped with night vision goggles. The landing marshal uses a device called a chem light or an infrared strobe light. When the section commander has determined that the landing zone is ready, he returns to his section with the landing marshal to wait for the arrival of the helicopter. With the section still in defensive position, he prepares his map of the flight plan. Once he hears the helicopter approaching, approximately 1 minute before landing, the section commander signals the landing marshal to return to the landing zone and, if it is night, to turn on the lights. Once the helicopter has landed, the section commander brings his troops to the boarding position. The soldiers gather in front of the helicopter in single file according to the pre-established boarding order. At the helicopter crew's signal, the group advances rapidly in position, heads down and leaning forward. The group divides itself in two. The section commander is usually the first in line. He is in charge of opening the door, helping to load equipment if necessary, and he will be the last to board the helicopter. Once he is seated, he puts on a headset that allows him to communicate with the pilot and flight engineer. During the flight, the section commander follows the route on his map. On a nighttime tactical mission, the helicopter's lights will not be on. To signal that the helicopter is ready for boarding, the crew will flash a light. When time and the necessary resources are available, and there is no risk to safety, you should rehearse the procedures to be followed at the safety perimeter and in the landing zone. As much as possible, conditions should resemble those that will prevail during actual operations, and all members of the detachment must participate. Training of heliborne forces should also include practicing the methods of combat loading, boarding, and deplaning from helicopters. Let's review the points covered in this video. During a heliborne infantry operation, the section commander is responsible for preparing his troops for boarding the helicopter and for selecting and preparing the landing zone. The principal factors influencing the selection of a landing zone are the size of the terrain, the type of ground, the clearance of the approach paths, the angle of the terrain, and the direction of the wind. The section commander assigns one person to guide the helicopter during landing. By day, arm signals are used. By night, if it is an administrative mission, the landing zone should be marked with lights unless advised that the helicopter has night vision capability. If the mission is tactical, night vision goggles will be used. The section commander brings his troops to the landing zone as soon as the helicopter has landed. He supervises the boarding. During the flight, the section commander is in contact with the pilot and follows the route on his map. The safety procedures that we've just examined are essential for the success of heliborne operations. Each soldier must know them perfectly in order to ensure the safety of all concerned as well as the effectiveness of the operation. In the third part of this series, we will look at the loading of infantry support weapons on board the helicopter.